About the Sinagose, sir.
So your name is, the first name is Federico, Federico. Middle name is S, Sapigao, Sapigao. Last name is Sinagose, right? So your birthday,
April 28, 1925.
April 28, 1925. So, when did you go to Korea, sir?
Kailan ka daw pumunta ng Korea?
25 May 1952.
1952. Yes. And tell me about the Korea you saw for the first time in your life. You didn't know much about Korea, right? So tell me how Korea was to you.
Ano daw, nung nakita mo daw yung Korea noon, ano daw yung masasabi mo? Ano itsura? Ano yung itsura?
I arrived in Busan. I never, I don't know what the situation there.
Ano itsura? Ano yung itsura? Marami bang bangkay? Magulo ba? Nasakbo yung mga bahay? Ano? Tama. O, tatagalog ka. Tagalog ka na. Magtagalog ka na.
Did you see
Yung
Korean?
bahay doon nasira.
Okay.
Did you see Korean children in the street?
Nakita mo daw yung mga bata dun sa may daan, mga Korean.
Yes, sir.
At paano mo sila di-describe? Ano yung itsura?
I give answer call one.
Magtagalog ka na lang kasi.
Yung bata is chop.
Chop chop means
Yes, sir.
something to eat, right?
I give them
Something to eat.
candy.
Candy. Did they like it?
Gusto daw ba nila yung candy? Nagustuhan ba yung candy?
That is the available.
So, tell me about the battle that you were in Korea.
Kwento mo daw yung pakikipaglaban mo dun sa Korea. Ano hindi mo malilimutan? Tagalog mo na.
Yung pagkabata nung I have a boy, sir. So, when we are climbing the mountain, there is a train. I believe that the people can read that, pero I did not understand.
What was the most?
That is my fault.
So, what was the most difficult thing?
I am crying during that time, sir.
So he was, I remember one time, can I just intersect?
Sure.
Clarify
Because
about that. Because I remember he shared a story to me about this Amboy. Amboys are, they're like personal assistants. They're Koreans,
Yeah.
younger boys, age I think 12, I think 9 to 12, something like that. So he had an Amboy before, and then that Amboy was helping him, like getting his stuff. I mean, they were together day and night whenever he goes up to his post. And then one time he wasn't able to tell that Amboy that there's a signage that you must duck because there's a sniper. Yeah. And then all along he thought that the Amboy saw the sign. And then when and then out of the blue, he just heard a gunshot, and then there goes the Amboy. The Amboy was dead, and he remembers it as the most biggest, or I mean, he remembers it as the biggest regret during that war. So he always tells about it whenever we have breakfast together as a family.
So since you've been speaking, let's introduce. Could you introduce yourself? What is your name and what is the relationship with Federico?
Oh, yes. I'm baby Ann Sinagose Juanino. I'm his
No.
daughter.
His daughter.
Yeah.
And you are?
I'm Charlene Juanino. I'm his granddaughter, and she's my mother.
Okay. Yeah, this is 3 generations. So tell me about how. Did he tell you about the Korean War to you when you were growing up?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah.
So then, do you have anything to do with? Have you been to Korea?
Not yet.
Does Korean government provide anything to you?
Yeah, I think so.
What is it?
I'm the one who used the educational benefit of PIPTO. I used that during my college.
So what did you study in your college?
Bachelor in accountancy.
Bachelor in what?
Accountancy.
Accountants.
Yeah.
And so, do you know anything about Korean War or Korea now?
When they arrived from Korea, then that's the time that I know a lot from Korea, since Korea now is very progressive.
So let me ask you this question. Did you go to Korea with your grandfather
Yes.
this year?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So we went to Korea as part of the revisit program this year, last November. So that's from 9 to 14. And then it was, I would describe it as the way I observed my grandfather. It was a nostalgic experience for him because he was able to go back to Korea. Because honestly, he was adamant at first, considering that, of course, it was a bittersweet memory when he was in Korea before, during the war. Like, he was always telling us that you don't know when he was telling us that when he was still in Korea during the war, you don't know if you will be able to see the sunrise again. You don't know what will happen to you again. It was a heavy feeling because every night you go to sleep, but you don't know if you will be able to wake up again. So that's the thing. So when he went back to Korea, he was really in awe, seeing how progressive Korea had been all throughout the years. And then he was telling me in the bus when we are touring around that I think what we did for the Korean people is all worth it. Because look at how progressive this country is right now. And I think that's something that, for me as a granddaughter, something that had made me very proud all these years. Because I can tell people like, I'm very proud I have a grandfather who helped defend these people, this wonderful land. And also, I'm very thankful because the Korean government honored his sacrifice during that time. Yeah, because one of his biggest sacrifice during that time is that he was actually fresh from being married from my grandma when he joined the war. He's few days fresh, so
Newlywed.
yeah, they're newlywed.
So it must have been very hard for your mother, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
To be
a possibility that she won't be born in this world if something happened to my grandfather during that time. Yeah.
I will not exist.
But so you just mentioned that he never knew that sun would rise again, and he might be able to see that sun
Yes.
rising. But now you are with the 3 generation, your daughter and your granddaughter, beautiful ladies, and now you don't have to talk because your granddaughter seems to perfectly understand what you are thinking right now. Is that right?
Naintindihan ko daw lahat ng mga nangyari sa inyo sa Korea. Tama daw ba?
Yes.
No.
Yes or no daw?
Yes or no?
Naintindihan ko daw.
Oh,
Naikwento niyo daw sa amin yung nangyari sa inyo noon.
yes, sir.
You don't have to speak because your granddaughter is speaking for you. So, did he tell you? He told you about this envoy, Korean boy who used to work and he was killed, and it was the saddest moment for him.
Yes.
Did he tell you anything about another difficult thing to stay in Korea?
I'm sorry, sir?
Difficult thing to be staying in Korea during the war.
Of course, he was telling me about how cold it is to stay in Korea. That's the number one thing
During
that
winter
we
time.
have to fight. Because coming from the Philippines, it's so hot here. This is a tropical country, so the burden is twice as hard when they fought there, because they're not only fighting psychologically but also physically.
Excellent point. Please ask him if he wrote the letter to his wife, newlywed wife.
Nagsulat ka ba ng sulat kay Inang nun? Nagsulat ka kay Inang?
Hindi. No, sir.
Bakit?
What did you write?
My ninang mo?
Ako nagsinulatan mo si Inang.
Yes, sir. Every day. But I'm laying down and very cold.
Very cold.
Yes, sir.
Hindi, padala mo ba? Nasend mo ba sa Philippines?
Nakaiga.
Naisan mo ba sa Pilipinas?
During night time when he goes
He,
to sleep.
when she arrived, the
Tagalog.
sulat.
Tagalog mo na.
Sulat ni
Pinapadala mo ba?
Okay, so
So he was just writing notes every night before he sleeps.
every night.
Yes.
Wow.
But we don't know.
Do you still keep that letter? Ask him.
Dahil tago mo ba yung mga sulat mo?
No, sir.
Na he wasn't able
He
to.
wasn't able to keep that one.
It's a long, long time.
And when you in the school, in high school and middle school, did you learn anything about the Korean War in the world history class?
Nothing world history.
No?
Actually, I learned it from him. When I was young, together with other grandsons, granddaughters, he would tell us about that. You know, when I went to Korea, I have to experience this thing. You're very lucky because right now you don't have to face difficulty to do these things. I saw these children before. He was telling me all about it. And then I just fully understand it when I went to high school. Because at least in high school, they would tell us what are the different wars all over the world, but they won't further elaborate about it.
So that's very strange, isn't it? Philippine soldiers, 7,500 people went to Korea. They didn't know anything about Korea.
Korean War.
And they thought that Korea would not become like this today when they left, because completely destroyed.
Yes.
We don't have anything. We don't have a drop of oil. But now it's becoming 11th largest economy in the world and very democratic society. And try to work with the veterans here in Philippines. It's a beautiful story. Don't you think that it's worth to tell in the classroom?
Yes, I think so too.
Right?
Yes.
So that's why my foundation made the curricular resources that teachers can use to teach about the Korean War. And it's not about the general history, but it's based on the analysis of the Korean War veterans interview. So we can make Philippine version of that based on this interview and another interviews that I've been doing. What do you think?
I think it's great because people would get to know about it. They would know that these people exist, these veterans exist. And I think that my grandfather deserved those things because he had sacrificed so much.
Could you show it to the camera? Yeah, let's make those for the Philippine soldiers and Philippine Korean War veterans' descendants like you. How about that? Do you want to do that?
Yeah,
Yes.
we agree.
Let's do it. So hold it. You know, we have to make it. Excellent. Do you know now anything about Korea?
Yeah.
What do you know? Tell me.
Yeah. That's according to what she said.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you don't even have to say anything about it because she is telling us.
Yeah. That's true.
Other than Korean economy, what do you know about Korea? Which one is your favorite, whatever it is, about Korea?
Of course, K-dramas. Because I'm a millennial. So obviously, I watch K-dramas.
What drama do you like most?
My favorite of all time is Goblin.
What?
Goblin.
Government?
Goblin.
Goblin?
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
But the most recent movie I watched is Train to Busan. And then we went to Busan last November.
That's very nice. Can your grandfather say something special to the Korean people because next year is a 70th year of the breakout of the Korean War? It's so ridiculous because there is no peace treaty. Ask him to see if he want to say anything special to the Korean people.
Magbigay daw kayo ng message sa mga Korean people.
No?
Anong mensahe mo sa mga Korean people? Kasi next year, 70th anniversary niya.
The Korean people is very good.
Why?
Bakit daw? Bakit very good?
If
Ikwento mo sila, Bob.
Tagalog mo sila ba?
He can speak in Philippine. You can translate.
Okay. Tagalog ka na lang. Tagalog ka na lang.
dahil sa sila tulong-tulong
Tapos,
nung sinervisan ako doon sa Korea.
tapos,
So,
Tapos yung ano nila, ano pa?
okay.
I believe that the Korean people is very good.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. So, he said that he believes that Korean people are really good at heart. Because he himself had experienced it last November when the Korean people welcomed him warmly in Korea, and that's the time that he felt that everything that he did is all worth it.
When you saw Korea this year, and think about the Korea that your grandfather saw, when you compare that, what do you think about it?
I think there's really a big discrepancy about how he described it to me, because before he described it as something that completely destroyed children in the street with no food to eat, and it's like a never-ending horror story. That's how he described it to me, because you don't know what will happen to you. And deep inside, he just wanted to go in the Philippines, but at the same time, he wanted to serve his country and he wanted to help the Korean people, because he knew that if he don't do it, who would help them? That's the thing. And as an army person, a personnel, it's his duty to defend the people who needs him. That's how passionate he is. So, compared right now, it's very progressive. He would tell me that he never imagined that Korea would have tall buildings, cars, good roads, and he said to me, like, it's out of the blue actually. And me that going Korea, I think everything here is progressive. It's great, and he would definitely want to go back to Korea to reminisce again his memories.
I think your perspective is perfectly fit for what we want to do. Okay, there are so much discrepancy between what happened and what happened now, and people do not care about it. That's the problem that we need to challenge, okay? So I hope that you join my foundation when we launch this curriculum project, okay? Any other thing that you want to say to this interview?
Can I say message? I think that because he was given a medal when we went, Ambassador of Peace Medal Award in Korea. And for me, as a granddaughter, I think that, I can describe the feeling of being very proud standing there, being, just listening his stories every day when I was young. He would tell me that, I don't know if I will be still alive before in Korea, but I have to be alive, I have to be strong because my family is waiting for me. And I'm really thankful that he had that courage, and because of that, we are here today, his family. He was, thank you so much. I just want to say to the Korean government, thank you so much for honoring my grandfather and trying to preserve his legacy as part of his. Thank you.
That's the MPVA, Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs of Republic of Korea program to re-invite the veterans and their families so that they can see what they actually did in 70 years ago and which made Korean people accomplish what it is today. And this is a wonderful story. I want to talk about this in the curriculum project. But you did sacrifice because you were newlywed and you had to be separated from your beautiful wife. And you never think that the sun would rise again. But sunrise again, like a Hemingway said, sunrise again. Now you have a beautiful family. And I want to thank you for your honorable service for the Korean people. You didn't know much before. But now Korea wants to work with you. So this is great.
Sa'yo. Linda, tapos gusto papasalamat daw ang Korea sa'yo.
No.
Ano sasabihin niyo sa Korea government?
No.
Ano sasabihin niyo sa Korea government?
Korean government is very good. Excellent.
Extreme.
Because they are working, especially my services, when I went to Seoul, everybody was
Welcome you.
helping the people there.
So he was there in 52 to 53, right? And he participated in the most of the battle that 19th Battalion combat team involved, right? Yes, because he couldn't tell me all about it,
He
but
was in charge in radio. Yes.
he was in charge of radio company,
Radio operator.
operator. Anything that he said to you?
Which I believe the reason why I actually took mass communication in college. Maybe it runs in the blood. But before, I never knew his position. Just tell me bits about it. Then out of the blue, when I was in college, I just knew it that, oh, I was a radio man. And then, oh, maybe that's the reason why. Because my parents are both, my parents didn't study. They didn't went to the field of communications. So they went to business management. So I think he's the reason why. Maybe it's genes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your fight, and thank you for bringing your beautiful family. We'll make sure that this interview will be used in the classroom in Philippines soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Korea.
Thank you.